Right, hey guys, and welcome back to the Crawl Room. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty room for all things Formula One. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix has come to a close, and what could be said about that one? Well, it was an interesting qualifying, wasn't it? A record-breaking 6 red flags throughout the qualifying session was certainly crazy, wasn't it? I thought this was the pinnacle of motorsport, but no. Some drivers really loved a good shunt, didn't they? The race itself, a certain driver loved to have yet another shunt, and the rest of the race sort of played out rather uneventfully, unspectacularly. There were a couple of good moves here and there, a couple of good overtakes, but for the most part it was a little bit more processional than what the qualifying sort of ensued could happen. With an upside down grid, you maybe expected more cars to come through the field, but it just wasn't the case at times. But overall, a good race weekend, a solid race weekend, and some impressive performances throughout. So if you've never seen this series before, I award the drivers out a maximum of 10 points based on their overall race weekend's performance, and I go all the way down to 0 if they have a particularly bad one. Take a look out for bonus points. They're sometimes enough for some drivers to do something extra special during a race, and on the rare occasion I do award minus points to those drivers that do something extra special, but for all the wrong reasons. Let's take a look at the current Crawl Room standings then going into this episode. It's on the screen now for you to take a look at. Have a look and see where your favourite driver is right now, and based on how well they did this weekend, can you see them going up? Can you see them going down? As mentioned, there was certainly an upside down qualifying order, and that led to some drivers having a really good weekend and others not so much. So it's going to be interesting to see what I award as this video progresses. We'll take a look at the team standings as well. We may as well, haven't we? So as you can see there is some minus points and some plus points alongside the scores that I have awarded so far. Those will be deducted at the end. So come the final in Abu Dhabi, we will have our final pecking order for the Constructors' Championship here on the Crawl Room. Of course, this is made up as per whatever the drivers score. So if I give them big bonus points, then that's what the team get. If I give them minus points, that's also what the team get. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out, because yeah, I'm a bit ruthless today. So without further ado, then let's kick things off with the race winner then, shall we? Max Verstappen. Oh, mate, honestly, this is ridiculous. These last couple of races, Max has been true Max, hasn't it? And this is just incredible. Was that another Grand Slam he had as well? I think he did, didn't he? He did lead every lap, he got fastest lap, he took pole position, he did win the bloody race. So I think that's another Grand Slam for Max, unless I got it a little bit wrong. I can't quite remember, but I can't remember a time he wasn't in the lead anyway. But yeah, honestly, what a fantastic weekend by Max once again. That Red Bull car, we know it's quick down in a straight line and quick, you know, in that sort of certain, you know, parameters, but we noticed how last year it struggled here. This time around, it's really done well. Max, of course, has been benefited by the fact that he is incredible and knows where to position a car on the track, knows how to set a qualifying lap time suitably, and was able then to have a couple of sort of anomalies within him, between himself and his main rivals, which of course were the McLaren team. So yeah, obviously once he got that big gap between them, he was able just to break away, go off into the distance and do his own thing. Carlos Sainz and of course Liam Lawson having some great impressive qualifyings there in second and third, but they just allowed him just to break out of that DRS early on, and then of course they were sort of holding up the rest of the pack, and Max was just away and gone. And that's all credit to Max, that, because he put himself in that position in a qualifying, never got flustered with the amount of red flags, and delivered the laps when they counted. And this is what certain drivers seem to be incapable of doing at the moment, and I'm getting a bit pissed off, to be honest with you. But as for Max Verstappen, he is just absolutely incredible. What a formidable force he is once again. It's a shame, isn't it, that he just didn't have this form a couple of races ago. You know, this could have been like 4 wins in a row or something. It would have made it look a little bit more mathematical for the championship. I mean, of course, the championship he can still technically win, but it's still a big gap despite these victories, despite these no scores that are coming for the McLarens and the low scores that are coming for the McLarens as well. yeah, it's a shame that he's just not been able to take a couple more wins this season, but that's just been the nature of the car, unfortunately. I still say it now, but I think he'll end up ruining Spain, where he lost a load of points due to his silly antics, because I think that's 9 points that were lost there that could be crucial in him maybe overtaking a McLaren in the title fight. I don't think he's going to win the title, but I think he's going to close the gap to a certain fucking British driver that he'll end up maybe having a go at him, and if he falls just short by a few points, I think he'll rue Spain for that. So yeah, overall Max Verstappen, it's been great to see him a formidable force in Formula 1 once again, and proves that not always you don't need the best car on the grid. The best cars flummoxed this race, and Max Verstappen, I'm giving him 5 bonus points. He's getting 15 from me. I was heavily critical of him in Spain, and rightfully so, when he lost all his points on the crawl room, but hopefully this 5 bonus points, 15 total, will boost him back up the pecking order somewhat. He's been incredible since the summer break. He really, really has, and I can't wait to see what lies in store, because honestly, if he keeps winning, it'd be fucking amazing if he won the championship. It really would now. I am rooting for Max, because he deserves it. But like I say, I think he will just fall a little bit short, but that's only because other drivers have had their car carrying them throughout the season. 15 to Max though, bravo. In second place, we come to George of the Russell. Watch out for that cough. Been a little bit unwell, has George of the Russell this weekend. Rumoured at one stage that he wouldn't even be taking part in qualifying, and they were seriously expecting someone else to pop into his place. Valtteri Bottas, can you fucking believe that? But yeah, honestly, George of the Russell, what a fantastic weekend, considering he was battling illness as well. It has to be said, he's done really, really well. That stint he did on the hard tyres in that race, lasting as long as he did and putting the pace that he did, so he was able to pit and come back out ahead of Carlos Sainz, who of course he was behind before the pit stops happened. Doing the overcut was a fantastic way of managing that race, and he got the best out of it. He really did. George of the Russell, okay, he was out qualified by his teammate Antonelli, but only by 1 position, and as mentioned, had a bit of illness as well, so we can forgive him as that. But once again, ill or not, George Russell delivers when it matters. The points are on Sunday, and he got the maximum out of that Mercedes car that he possibly could. Did a fantastic job. He really did well. Like I said, qualifying wasn't a 10 out of 10 performance by any stretch of the imagination, but recovered the weekend really well by a fantastic pace on old hard tyres to leapfrog the cars that he was behind prior to the pit stops occurring. And second place is a fantastic position to finish. So George of the Russell, it's a perfect 10 from me. Continues to have another fantastic season, another fantastic race. He really has been my sort of not biggest surprise, but we've seen seasons where he has this pace and then tails away. 2022, for example. And then you have seasons like 23 where he really didn't turn up, to be honest with you. But this season he has really delivered constantly delivered, getting the best out of that car, and once again delivers again on race day. A perfect 10 to George of the Russell. In third place, we come to Carlos Sainz, smooth operator. And guess who disqualified him on this series just last week? Me! So I can't give him any points, unfortunately, but I said it was going to happen this season, didn't I? In my early predictions, I tipped Carlos Sainz in particular, but especially Williams, to get a podium this season. And here he is, delivering a P3 finish after qualifying himself on the front row. What a fantastic weekend he has had. You could say maybe a little bit lucky with the qualifying and how it all unfolded, but at the end of the day, it's not his fault that other drivers are stuffing it in the wall, can't get the laps together in better machinery. That's not his doing. That is all down to Carlos Sainz being out on the track at the right time and delivering the lap times when he has the opportunity to. And that was fantastic. Looking like it for a brief moment when we saw the sprinklings of rain during the first red flag in that Q3 period when Leclerc binned it into the wall. You were like, oh, just rain a little bit more, just please. It didn't quite happen. Max Verstappen pipped him to the pole position, but nonetheless, what a fantastic effort. And then in the race itself, we mentioned that Max broke away from the DRS, which was perfectly fine, but Carlos was always within that 2-second window for a good number of laps, and he'd broken away by a good 3 or 4 seconds over Liam Lawson, so he was in a great position there. The pace itself then was fantastic, withstood pressure from Antonelli at the end of the race as well. Okay, George Russell leapfrogged him, Can't do anything about that. That's just the pace of the Mercedes, and George just been incredible this season. I wouldn't expect Carlos Sainz to be too disappointed that he lost out to George Russell when he's still got a podium. If it had been for a podium, it'd have been a little bit more miffed, wouldn't it? But nonetheless, a fantastic weekend by Carlos Sainz, and once again proves that when I disqualify a driver on this series, they then do really well the next race weekend. 9 out of 10 times that I've done that, it has always happened. So check back on the old videos if you like, because it does more often than not happen on this series. So yeah, clearly proves that the drivers watch it and they think, oh god, I've been disqualified, need to put my ideas up. So Carlos Sainz, I can't score him many points. I really wish I could. He'd get 15 from me if he did, but that's the way of life, unfortunately, and he has had a topsy-turvy season. Well, it's maybe been turvy. I don't know if that's a word. It's been a turvy season for him. It's not been great, has it? It's certainly not been the topsy side of things. It's definitely been the turvy. But yeah, Carlos Sainz. It's a shame. It's a shame, really, that I can't award him any points. But he's disqualified on the series due to his previous antics. And yeah, Carlos Sainz, though, bravo! I'm glad he's done it. As mentioned, finishing in 4th place, we come to Andrea Kimi Antonelli in the second of the Mercedes. Great pace from the Mercedes squad this weekend overall. Antonelli pipping George Russell to the post in qualifying. Good effort, solid. Not bad, not great, but perfect. We know we'll take that, we'll take it. And then the race itself finished where he qualified. Wasn't able to get through on the likes of Carlos Sainz towards the end. But you know what? I think, you know, had Antonelli had a couple of good races previous building into this weekend, I think he'd have been a little bit more daring on trying to overtake Carlos. But knowing that he's hardly scored any points for months, I think when he was in P4, he was only ever going to make a move that was ever fully on, if that makes sense. He wasn't going to go for a half-hearted move and hope that Carlos Sainz saw him and, you know, moved out of the way kind of thing. I think that sort of put a little bit of pressure on Antonelli this weekend, knowing that he had to deliver, and that's why he wasn't able to make the move around Carlos Sainz. We know the Mercedes car is quicker than the Williams, but I just think in that certain situation, that certain circumstance, Antonelli's had a shocker. He really has. Even Toto Wolff has started to say he's not had a great European leg, which we know he hasn't. He's only scored a few points, if that. So, yeah, so I think Antonelli, a little bit of mind games on his side there and just thought, look, let's just bring home the P4. And he brought that home really well, and I don't criticise him for that. A young lad, he's had a tough run of it, but a great effort to finish here in P4. No discredit to him for that. I'm giving him 8 points. 8 points for that. Yeah, he didn't beat his teammate in the race, and yeah, he should have maybe got on the podium. But like I say, because of how he has been these last few races, I think it's only fair that I give him a little bit of a reprieve, because I know what must have been going on in his head. So it's 8 to Antonelli. I gave him a reprieve last weekend and said if he didn't book his ideas up, I would be disqualifying him. But this time around, thankfully, unfortunately, he's clearly heeded my final warning, because he is on a final warning. Any more mistakes and he's disqualified. But this weekend, I think he delivered a solid result for the Mercedes squad, and that's why it's 8 points to Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Next up, in 5th place after qualifying in P3, we come to Liam Lawson in the first of the Visa Cash App Maxi Tampon RB. Buy one, get one free. Don't forget your AlphaTauri, your Toro Rosso, your Minardi. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. For Liam Lawson, he has long been disqualified on this series. I don't even think he made it to... What did he do? Round 10, round 11, I've disqualified him. So he's been disqualified for a good number of races now, and of course will remain that way. But it was nice to see him have a good weekend. And this weekend, in the free practice sessions, looked like he was slightly better than Hadjar, which is a good performance, really. It really is. So, yeah, was able to sort of be on top of Hadjar all weekend, qualifying where it mattered, delivered the goods, P3 in qualifying, and the race itself got beaten by the two Mercedes. Here in P5, can't discredit him for that. What a fantastic effort. Was running P3 all the way up until the first round of pit stops, and then that's where it sort of went a little bit wrong. Didn't quite have the pace on the harder compound tyre. And yeah, overall though, for Liam Lawson, it's a great effort, great drive. Can't score him any points because he's disqualified anyway on this series, but we've finally seen a glimmer of hope from Liam Lawson. Hallelujah. And finishing behind Liam Lawson, we come to Yuki Tsunoda in the second of the Red Bulls. Good to see him get a solid top 6 finish, and once again I cannot award him points because just last weekend he was thrown out of the championship here on the Crawl Room. He was disqualified. What a shame. The disqualifications are mounting and now they're delivering the goods. It always happens. Always happens. So yeah, Yuki Tsunoda, unfortunately, I can't score him any points for this weekend, but if I were going to score him any points, I'd have given him a solid 7, to be fair. Of course, he wasn't on pace with his teammate Max, and we know that, but all I always said was just keep going, get in Q3, get some points. I'm happy with that, Yuki. And that's what he did this weekend. So it probably would have been a solid 7 from me this weekend had he not been disqualified. But unfortunately, he has. That's a great shame. I love Yuki to bits, and I think he's just been given a rough end of the stick. He could have been a podium finisher this season already if he'd have been in the RB car. You know, I've no doubt about that. If Arjar's got one, if Lawson's just had a top 5 finish there, there was chance for it, but unfortunately he was given the rough end of the stick and promoted or demoted to that second Red Bull seat and has had a tough time. But this race was marginally encouraging, so well done Yuki on that, but you're disqualified, so I can't give you any points. Oh, and here we go then. In 7th place we come to Lando Norris.
My Formula One career began with Jordan in 2005 thanks to a huge amount of backing from Tata. I did have the odd good performance, including a points finish in the USA Grand Prix, but the least said about that, the better.
And there we have it. And of the week to Lando Norris. Of course it had to be, didn't it? It had to be. What a pathetic drive, but that's not enough. That is not enough. I am deducting 20 points off of whatever he's got on the tally at the moment on the crawl room, which is quite low anyway, because I already gave him quite a heavy punishment earlier on this season. Canada, was it, when he tried to crash into the back of Piastri? So yeah, so he's minus 20. Minus 20 points off of whatever his total is right now, and of the week to him. And he's bordering on a final warning now. Is that 4 or 5 he's got? So yeah, he's closing in on a disqualification anyway, and my parameters were whichever McLaren driver doesn't win the title, they would be disqualified from the series if they weren't already. And I think Lando's going to get disqualified before we even reach the end. So, you know, keep going, Lando. You're doing a great job. Honestly, what a absolute sponge this weekend. I mean, only marginally better than his teammate in the sense that he at least scored a couple of points, but his teammate was in the wall in qualifying, was in the wall on lap 1 of the race. What did he do in qualifying after he knew his teammate was out? Bottle his own lap, so he was outside the top 5 in qualifying. And you're like, right, okay, well, at least try and make some effort through the field then, Lando. You know, your opportunity, your big opportunity to get a lot of points over Oscar. And then what does Oscar do on lap 1? Bid it into the wall. Right, okay, Lando, it's now your time to shine. Any position you gain inside the points is all points that you are going to chip in to that advantage that Oscar Piastri has got on you, which is 30-odd points. So it's quite a handsome lead that Oscar's got. You need to get on the podium, my friend. And here he is languishing round in 7th place, diddling, dallying and all that dicking about. And I know people are going to say, but the slow pit stop cost him 2 positions and he should have been ahead of Lawson and Tsunoda. Oh, no. Oh, fucking no, indeed. But he shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. That slow pit stop in that McLaren should have made fuck all difference, because he should have been pitting off into the distance after getting pulled by half a second over his nearest rivals. Oh no, wait, that was fucking Max, wasn't it? It's ridiculous. Lando, I'm not falling for the bullshit of it wasn't the best car this weekend and all this lot. No, you didn't have the best drivers in the best car. That's the problem. When you've got a car that dominant, and you've got him finishing in 7th place after qualifying well down the order because he bottled his last lap in qualifying. It's utter horseshit. I cannot believe we're going to see one of these McLaren drivers a champion this year. When one of them takes the trophy at the end of the year and they're like, yeah, I'm Formula One world champion. Look at me. How great am I? Just look back to Baku. Just look back to this weekend, because fucking hell, it's infuriating. So yeah, Max Verstappen, I hope he wins every race for the remainder of the season now. I hope the McLaren drivers continue to bottle it. They can have the constructors, I don't care. But like, I honestly it's just infuriating. It really is. So Lando Norris, and of the week to him, and minus 20 points to his tally, because I'm fucking sick of it. Calm down, Josh, and breathe. But it shouldn't be like this, should it? It shouldn't. If Max was in that McLaren, he'd have already won the title. He'd have already single-handedly won constructors. I mean, the fact that they only needed to score 9 more points than Ferrari this weekend to clinch the title here at Baku. All those T-shirts that said Constructors World Champions 2025 on in the back of that McLaren garage, pack them up, lads. Take them to the next race weekend. Take them to Singapore, because you're not wearing them this time around, because they've absolutely fluffed it. Knobheads. So yeah, Lando Norris, -20 and another week to him. I'm fuming. Absolutely fuming. What a donkey. And I only use that word normally for Lance Stroll, but what a donkey. Next up, we come to Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari. Yeah, don't really know what to say, to be honest. Avoiding of the week by this much, because, you know, at least he didn't do as shite as a certain McLaren driver. But, yeah, you know, out in Q2, not good. Here he is finishing P8 ahead of his teammate due to being on fresher tyres at the end, alternating the strategy hard to medium instead of medium to hard. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. Great stuff. Yeah, 3 points. He can have 3 points. He can thank me for him. He was feeling confident going into this weekend. Then he bottles qualifying, and then the race pace just wasn't there, courtesy of the Ferrari and the fact that they put themselves in this tricky position by having a shite qualifying. So yeah, unfortunate for Lewis Hamilton. It's 3 points. It's short and sweet, because I'm getting a bit sick of the Ferraris as well, to be honest with you. Not just in terms of the drivers, but the team as a whole, really. I give them so much promise going into this season, and they have delivered so little. It's been Hamilton and Ferrari that have really been annoying me, and Charles Leclerc I've just felt sorry for most of the time. But there we go. It's 3 to Hamilton. There, that's that. And of course, finishing behind his teammate, we come to Sha-la-la, or Sacre Bleu, Sha-la-la, but it were all your own fault this time around, I'm afraid. Stuffing it into the wall in Q3 like an absolute moron. And then here he is, of course, out of position, unable to make progress through the field, and picks up 2 points. Great. Again, after so much promise in qualifying and the pace that they showed in practice, we weren't expecting them to qualify pole. I'm not delusional in thinking that because the top of practice session, they're going to top qualifying. But they both deserve to be inside the top 5, and then both of them should have gone on to get into the podium positions. One as an absolute minimum, both I would have expected, to be honest with you, due to the pace that they showed in that qualifying. But no, out of position, stuck in a gaggle, can't get past anyone, and here he is finishing in 9th. He gets 3 from me as well. He's lucky he's not an of the week, to be honest, because that stuffing in the wall, I was a bit sick of it, to be honest, and he's making a habit of crashing up round Baku, isn't he? So, especially that corner as well, he's had quite a few shunts. So yeah, 3 to Leclerc, thank me for it. Bit fuming with the Ferraris, but not as fuming as I am with McLaren, so we'll skip past it. But yeah, 3 to Leclerc, that's that. Move on, Josh, move on. Picking up the final points paying position, and I can say his name properly from the word go, because we had no David Croft this weekend. It was Harry Benjamin, once again doing a fantastic job. Brilliant pronunciation of Isaac Hadjar. Brilliant, well done, it's great. Honestly, fantastic, well done, I'm really pleased. Sadly, the last time that I am going to go without David Croft during an F1 race weekend, so pray for me going forward, guys. But I am able to say his name perfectly well, and Isaac Hadjar picks up 1 solitary point for the Visa Cash App Max Tampon RB squad. Yeah, not as impressive as his teammate this weekend, unfortunately. He was fuming with himself, to be honest with you, in qualifying. His reaction after qualifying was like, yeah, didn't do good enough. P8, disappointed with it. I thought, you're disappointed with P8. Shows the true mark of a future champion, that, doesn't it? Of course, he didn't get the glamour, he didn't get the glory of his teammate qualifying P3 and then finishing inside the top 5, of course, but still picks up 1 crucial point for the RB squad in a weekend where, okay, Williams have scored a good handful of points with 15 there, but they mitigate that gap by scoring 11 as a collective team at RB, and also it helps them with the likes of Aston Martin, Stake, Sauber, of course Haas, because they didn't pick up anything. So yeah, it's a good weekend overall for the RB squad. Not as impressive for Isaac Hadjar as it was for Liam Lawson, but still delivers a middle of the road 5 performance, I would say, for me. And I would have given him maybe a point more, to be honest with you, but because Hadjar has been so critical of his own weekend, he knew he could do better, or felt he could do better. I sort of mirrored that in my score and thought, no, good fair point, Hadjar. You know, your teammate's up in 5th. You could have got more, and you just didn't quite. Again, a better qualifying performance would have seen him a bit higher up, been ahead of maybe Tsunoda, who caused that gaggle, and then he could have got a P5, P6 finish as well. So, yeah, good effort by Hadjar. Middle row 5 for me for him. He wasn't happy with it. Looking back on it, yeah, it was a solid performance, but nothing spectacular. 5 to Hadjar. Just outside the points in P11 after crossing the line in P12, we come to Gabriel Bortoleto in the first of the Stake Kick Me Up the Arse Saubers. Bortoleto this weekend was looking a little bit difficult in free practice sessions, wasn't he? Was looking a little bit tricky for him, bless him, struggling with the braking and front locking, heading down a few escape roads. His qualifying together, in all honesty, it could have been a little bit better, but I don't think it was a Q3 performance. Lining up in P13, he made a mistake on the turn 17, which is the final corner before you go down the really long wiggly woggly bit that then goes down the long straight. So that cost him a couple of tenths, and I think with that, I think I've looked at the data from Bortoleto on that, and I think he could have been P12. So he lost a position there, really. The race itself, unfortunately for Bortoleto, was sort of marred by the fact that he was stuck behind Lance Stroll. That's where his race came undone. He was only a few seconds behind Hadjar when he was in 11th anyway during the race. And then after the round of pit stops, Hadjar stayed out longer to pit in 10th and come out 10th. Whereas Bortoleto pitted, got stuck behind Stroll, who was doing a really long race on the medium tyres. And anyone stuck behind Stroll couldn't find his way around him. Unfortunately, Bortoleto, that sort of put pay to that final chance of a point, because there was almost a pit stop gap between them in the end. Alex Albon did overtake him in the closing stages, but of course it wasn't for a point anyway, so it didn't matter. And Alex Albon had a 10-second time penalty as well, added to his race distance time, so he ended up tumbling back down the order as a result. So P11 anyway, after crossing the line in P12, after qualifying in P13, there was a little bit more in it. But I think a point was always a little bit of a stretch, but then when they got stuck behind Lance Stroll, it became an almost impossibility without accidents and incidents up front, which didn't come to fruition. Bortoleto this weekend, 6.5 for me for him. A solid weekend overall, nothing overly special or spectacular, but once again, putting a firm stamp on the fact that he's been one of the best rookies this season. He really has. That Sauber car, finishing P11, we'd have been absolutely ecstatic with that a couple of seasons ago, even last season to be honest. But this time around we're disappointed that the Sauber car couldn't quite scrape into the points, but that is such as the nature of the improvement of Sauber and the fact that they've got two really good drivers now. Bortoleto, of course, outqualified his teammate once again as well. He's just doing really well at the moment, Bortoleto, finding his feet within the championship and delivering solid results when he can. Just fell short on points this time. 6.5 to Gabriel Bortoleto. Finishing behind Bortoleto, we come to Oliver Behrman. Here he is, here he is, here he is. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. Haas this weekend, unfortunately. Behrman was looking a lot more stronger than his teammate Ocon, but unfortunately stuffed it into the wall in qualifying, which is a big error by his stage and status and what he should have been up to. He shouldn't have been putting it into the wall. To be honest though, he was unlucky because he just glanced it like so many did out of that turn 3 complex. He just got a bit of a slide, just caught the rear corner. Normally everyone would get away with that. We've seen it all through practice, all through the qualifying up until that point, but unfortunately he just bent the toe link and that was it. He was out, crabbing down the straight and had to stop the car. So qualified P15, and then from there, as already mentioned with Bortoleto, everyone from Bortoleto downwards got stuck in a Lance Stroll train, and then Haas weren't really looking like they were going to be point scorers this weekend anyway. Even though Behrman was looking impressive in qualifying, it would have been a stretch for him to get a point anyway. But the race itself, it was sort of nail in coffin kind of thing. It wasn't going to be possible once they got stuck behind Lance Stroll. They were asked to swap positions because Behrman did the hard to medium and Ocon did the medium to hard, so they swapped places, but it didn't make any difference on their race position in the end. Of course, like with Bortoleto, cross line 13, finished P12 due to the 10-second time penalty from Albon, but that's that. No points anyway, either way. 5.5 this weekend for me for Behrman. Have to penalise him for the little nudge in qualifying to the wall, which caused a red flag and a slight bit of damage to his car, but I do think it was a little bit unfortunate. He didn't just go harpooning it into the wall. It was just the way he caught the wall, which was unfortunate. So yeah, 5.5 to Behrman. Not an impressive weekend by his standards, but there was certainly a little bit more in it, but I think points, again, were always going to be that little bit of a stretch. And finishing behind Oliver Behrman, we come to Esti Besti Ocon. Esti Besti to you. Ain't like Esti Besti Ocon. Obeying a team order? Fucking hell, Esti Besti. Are you feeling okay, hun? It's not normally something he's been doing in his previous iterations in other teams. I think he's normally been stuffing his teammates off into walls and getting into arguments and falling out with them. But this time around, he obeyed the team order quite happily and came in 2x2, hurrah, hurrah for the Haas squad, finishing behind his teammate Oliver Behrman. Ocon, difficult qualifying, down in P18 and out in Q1, unfortunately. The race itself here in P13 as a result of a penalty for Albon, promoting in one position again, but at the same time, not inside the points, and was always going to be a bit of a stretch anyway. It's a Miller 05 for Esteban Ocon for me, for him. I don't think that Haas car really had the pace this weekend to deliver points. It's a shame he was out in Q1, to be honest. There was definitely a Q2 appearance inside that car, and maybe could have been on the top end of the Q2 appearance instead of being out in Q1, but that's life, isn't it? That's life. And that's that, really. 5 to Esty Bestie. That's that. And next up, we come to the second of the Williams in Alexander Albon.
I was tipped to be in contention for a podium finish at the USA Grand Prix, and that was before 7 teams didn't make the start of the race due to tyre issues. I finished 4th, behind my teammate. Oh, bollocks.
And there we have it. It is, of course, Narain Kartikeyan of the week. I can't believe I didn't say it earlier on. The cucumber himself, Narain Kartikeyan, graces the of the week board for the first time in his Formula 1 career. Narain Kartikeyan, though, what an absolute legend. And unfortunately, he has to be an of the week to Alexander Albon because he has a Barcelona Spanish kind of Grand Prix here at Baku. Crashed in qualifying. It was unfortunate, to be honest. The front grip wasn't there on his first push lap at turn 1. It was there on the second, so he turned in early. He gripped up and he caught the wall, broke his suspension, started last. From there, it was always going to be a stretch anyway to get inside the points, especially as we mentioned then with that Lance Stroll train, which took out the bottom half of the field pretty much. But then he made silly contact with Colapinto, who had just come in for a stop, and put Colapinto into a spin and into the wall, and Alex Albon sustained front wing damage as a result and collected a 10-second time penalty for that collision. Bit of desperation there from Alex Albon. I think he thought that the Alpine was clearly slippery in a straight line. But it was a shame because obviously it ruined his race from there. He'd have been better off just biding his time and trying to get in, but obviously he didn't want to get stuck behind him. So I can understand his frustrations with that. But unfortunately, ruined Colapinto's race, who was having a decent run, to be fair, at that stage. But yeah, Alex Albon, again, it's a poor qualifying performance with a little bit of damage, and then contact in the race, which was his own doing, his own mistake, and has to be an Narain Kartikeyan of the week for that. Sorry, Alex, you've had such a great season. A couple of bad races does not mark your overall race performance overall, but once again, it's one Williams doing really well or one Williams doing really badly. If both of the Williams cars should be finishing inside the top 5, inside the top 10 even, where they deserve to be on their any given weekend, they'd be well 5th in the Constructors and clearer 5th in the Constructors. But as it is, it's an unfortunate race once again for Alex Albon, while his teammate thrives. And of the week to Alex Albon. Next up, we come to Fernando Alonso in the first of the Aston Martins. What a ridiculous weekend by Aston Martin once again. Poor pace, poor performance, and no chance of points, to be honest with you. That's life, really. That is life. Alonso did what he could with the car he was given. Nothing more could be said about that. To be honest, I didn't even realise he was in the race. He was that anonymous. Didn't really consider him or even think about him, to be honest. Was there some sort of team radio antics he had? I can't remember, but I think there was something happened, weren't there? But he's 4 to Alonso this weekend for him, unfortunately. Can't really score anymore because it's been quite a low-scoring points awarding down here in the bottom half of the field. Yeah, shame really. Didn't deliver his best. Oh, he picked up a 5-second time penalty for jump start. Just come to me. So yeah, it's a 4 to Alonso. He reacted to Piastri jumping the start, didn't he? There we go. Just dawned on me like a light bulb. Ting! Yeah, 4 to Alonso. Difficult race. I knew why I scored him low for some of it. I just couldn't remember. But yeah, 4 to Alonso for that, unfortunately for him. Jumped the start, unfortunate. And then, yeah, that's that. And then we come to Nico Hulkenberg. Oh, I needed that.
To celebrate the end of my season with Jordan and to commemorate the last time the Jordan name would grace the Formula 1 grid, I did what any respectable pay driver would do and go off with a bang. It was quite a heavy bang actually, and I wrote off the car. Oops.
And there we have it, Narain Kartikeyan of the week to Nico Hülkenberg. Sadly for Hülkenberg, it just wasn't his weekend, was it? Has to be said. Crashed in qualifying, was able to reverse it out of the wall. A little bit premature with the red flags for that one, but never mind, not to worry. Damaged the car anyway, so was out in Q1. P17 was the best he could muster up. And then the race itself at one stage was close to Bartlett, but that was just due to the fact that Hülkenberg had not pitted. And then when he did pit, unfortunately, he tumbled down the order as a result. And finishing down here in a lowly 15th, 16th, wherever it is. So yeah, not on par with his teammate all weekend long. The rookie, unfortunately, showing him up. And yeah, big shame for Hülkenberg this weekend, to be honest. I always think points were going to be a stretch for the Sauber squad, don't get me wrong. But yeah, just unfortunate that he had to crash in qualifying and then have a lacklustre race and was once again outraced and outqualified by Bartlett. Has to be an of the week for that, unfortunately, for Hülkenberg. Didn't really do anything special or spectacular. Next up we come to Lance Stroll in this second of the Aston Martins. Well done, Lance. What an impressive performance, managing to hold up half the field so they were unable to even have a chance at points. Including your teammate in that as well. What a moron. Anyway, Lance Stroll, fucking hell. Yeah, I don't know what to say. He's disqualified on the series anyway. Has been for a couple of races now, but not as long as Liam Lawson. So yeah, he was pipped to the post for the first disqualification this season by Liam Lawson. But yeah, nonetheless, lacklustre performance once again. Down here, doing nothing. Usual stuff really for Lance Stroll. The car wasn't capable of it, but it was capable of more than what Lance Stroll got out of it. Ha ha! Then we come to Pierre Gasly. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. What a disaster of a weekend for the Alpine squad. Was always going to be a tough one anyway. They were slippery in a straight line, to be fair. They were quick in a straight line, but unfortunately for the Alpine squad, they're just shite everywhere else, including turn 4 in qualifying, because Pierre Gasly decided he didn't want to take the corner and the car went down the escape road and got stuck down there. So yeah, that was unfortunate. Qualifying over, P19 for him was the best he could do, and then the race itself was trundling round at the back and only just finishing ahead of his teammate Colapinto in the end due to, well, I mean, he got him on merit, to be fair, on track, but he shouldn't have been that low down the order because Colapinto was stuffed into a wall for about 20 seconds of his race. So yeah, Pierre Gasly, tough day at the office for Alpine as a whole, really. And yeah, tough weekend for Pierre Gasly. 3 points to Gasly. There was certainly not a Q2 appearance in that car. I think what they got out of it really was just, you know, not bidding it in the wall, to be honest with you. Oh wait, no, that did happen to Colapinto. But yeah, for Pierre Gasly, he kept the car intact all weekend. Poor pace, not just by himself but by Alpine as well. And the first weekend we've really seen Colapinto look better than Gasly throughout qualifying, practice, racing, etc. It's just, you know, he only finishes one position ahead of him due to the fact that Colapinto were pushed into a wall. But yeah, 3 to Gasly, that's that. Can't be overly harsh or overly critical with him. I know he's driving a wheelbarrow, but yeah, not great overall. And then, of course, we come to Franco Colapinto in the second of the Alpines. As mentioned, his car also didn't like turn 4 either, but unfortunately his teammate was already down the escape road, so into the wall we go, Colapinto. Wrote off the left side of the car entirely, really. Front left suspension, left rear suspension, front wing, rear wing, all the left-hand side of the floors. What a right smelly mess that was. Yeah, qualified himself 16th as a result of that, out in Q1. It's a shame he had that crash, to be honest with you. I wish that white flag for Gasly down the escape road was a double yellow, just so he'd slow up and he never had that accident, because without that, he was actually doing quite a good job, and that's a shame. The race itself, of course, got himself in P13 quite early on and then stayed out for quite a while before pitting. And then when he pitted, he came out with Alex Albon and then got took out, as we already know, by Albon. And that was a shame. That was a huge shame, that. Big disappointment. Again, points wouldn't have been possible for Colapinto, but he was genuinely faster than Gasly all weekend long. And we're only going to remember it for the crash and the crash. And I think that's unfair, but that's how Formula 1 works, unfortunately. The crash in qualifying, of course, was his own doing, and Really wish that didn't happen. And the race itself, of course, was taken out by Albon, which wasn't his fault, and he was looking really good. Really good for a top 12 finish there, I would say, on merit for the Alpine. I mean, the chances are the tyre deg would have caught up with him and he'd have slipped away because he was an early stopper. But, you know, he put himself in that position to have a go. And I think that's an encouraging sign that we saw from Colapinto this weekend. And as mentioned, it's going to be unnoticed by a lot of people just for the sheer fact that he was in the wall twice. But huge shame. Of course, him finishing all the way down here is not his fault, but yeah, qualifying was. So he's going to get the same as his teammate Gasly. Three to Colapinto. I'd like to score more, but it was heavy damage in qualifying, and that's a shame. But, you know, it's not an of the week, and I think his pace in the race, you know, it was a lot better than Gasly, and it's a shame, but I have to punish that collision in qualifying, and that's that. 3 to Colapinto. And then we come to the only DNF in this race. Oh, and what a spicy DNF it is. It's Oscar Pastry. What's your favourite pastry? Well, flaky is an understatement this weekend, isn't it? Fucking hell, burnt to a crisp more like. Flaky pastry that's been left in an oven for 4 hours. It's ridiculous, unbelievable stuff. Oscar Piastri. I mean, let's just forget about the shunting qualifying. What happened in the first half a lap of that race? Jumped the start, bogged down as a result of jumping the start, and then crashed into the wall. Fantastic stuff. But then he crashed in qualifying as well. Oh God, it's amazing, isn't it? It really is amazing, and he certainly does deserve one of these.
Being one of only 2 full-time drivers not to score points during the 2004 season doesn't show my full season's potential. I'd have scored points in the US had my car not broken down.
I bet you all thought he got away with that one when I kept talking then. But no, oh no, oh no. It is a of the week, of course, to Oscar Pastry. Tee-hee-hee-hee. And he's getting minus 30. Minus 30 off of his current tally. Whatever he's got on the crawl room at the moment, minus 30 points and slapping an of the week at the side of his name. I'm going to use that word again that I only normally reserve for Lance Stroll and it seems Lando Norris. What a donkey. Unbelievable. Championship material, this guy apparently. Championship material. How is this guy leading the championship? Crashing in qualifying. Idiot. Jumping the start. Moron. Jumping the start but still ended up at the back of the grid. Tit. And then spaffing it into the wall within the first half a lap of the race and writing his car off. Absolute knobhead. So yeah, unfortunately for Oscar Pastry, it is an of the week and minus 30 points to his tally for what was the worst weekend I have ever seen from what could be a potential future champion in the history of the world ever. Ridiculous stuff. So yeah, whoever wins this title is going to be put down as like a future Jack Villeneuve, aren't they? I think that's the way we're going at the moment. I think that's the kind of level we're at. Jacques Villeneuve, a champion, and then did fuck all for the rest of his career in Formula 1. This is what's going to happen if either Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris win the title this year, because they are not suitable for winning the title. Unbelievable stuff. So yeah, Oscar Pastry, an of the week, and minus 30 points to him for being a dick. So everything, guys, those were the runners and riders of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Let me know down in the comment section, do I score any drivers too high, any too low? The updated standings with the scores I've just awarded are on the screen. Now for you to take a look at. Have a look and see where your favourite driver is now. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? How badly the McLarens did this weekend. Unbelievable stuff. They take a massive tumble down the order. Lando was already quite far down there anyway, but he just tumbles a little bit more, I think. But yeah, nonetheless, it is deserved because they have been absolutely pathetic all weekend long. The Ferrari's having a tough weekend, the Alpine's having a tough weekend, the Haas is not having a great weekend, even Sauber not having a fantastic weekend either, to be honest. All plays its part on the series, and of course George Russell doing quite well at the moment. He's looking quite handsome. But there's still a lot of races to go, and it's a shame that Sainz got disqualified last time out because he would have had a lot of points this weekend, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, isn't it? And that's racing. And we'll take a look at the team standings as well then, shall we? While we're here, we may as well, haven't we? We may as well. As you can see, as always, the minus points there at the side of each team score and plus points will be added and deducted at the end of the season. I'm not manipulating it any further to what the drivers have scored this weekend. No further action from me. And yeah, that's that really. There's nothing else to say. With the teams, it's just disappointing once again from the McLaren drivers letting their team down. Absolutely pathetic. They should have walked away Constructors' champions in real life this weekend, McLaren, and instead they've got to take it to Singapore. I mean, it will happen in Singapore because I think it's almost certain, but, you know, it's just not acceptable, is it? It really isn't. A massive thanks as always goes out to Dan Bartlett, formerly of Mushy Gaming, of course, for providing me with the scoreboard that you saw on your screen, for the driver icon in the corner of your screen, and for the intro as well. Without him, this series would be more pointless than it already is. And who can forget Mr. Dave, F1 Games PlayStation, for providing me with the of the weeks that you don't necessarily know, but you know you're going to love them. You just know it. You just know it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all next week for the Singapore Grand Prix Crawl Room, Tuesday 6 PM. Fingers crossed, depending on work schedule. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. As always, much love.